ever since. And this is our cottage, and the Storks built this in 1929, and they used to come summers. When they gave the cottage to us, we remodeled it and changed the front so that it was more glass there so we can enjoy the lake. And I think when people built them in the olden days, they didn't think about views, I guess. The cottage was a cottage. And so this is very nice so that we can look out. And then we built a deck on the front, and the name of our cottage is the Stork's Nest. And when Linda did this, our granddaughter was here, and she said, "Nani, Linda forgot the tire swings." So we've always had a tire swing there. So Linda said, "Oh," so she just worked so fast, she just went just like that and put it right in there. And we always have an old boat. We don't have the hoist here. She didn't put the hoist in, which is okay. But we've always had a boat for the kids just to use for going back and forth when they're little with life jackets on so that they can learn to row and so forth. And they've always had a good time with that. And this is up at Indian Pines. And there is, behind, Linda has done some beautiful work with fields and trees, and I hope that this comes out so that you can see it. The clouds especially was fun for me to see her do, because the first thing she did were the clouds, and she came and she did them all with a turkey feather, and she did the whole room in the clouds. That was her first thing. And then after she did the clouds, then she started with the horizon, and she did the horizon all the way around. So it was a wonderful thing to watch it develop, and she used a different paintbrush for each tree. And so that if you see an oak tree or a maple tree or a poplar tree, each one has their own paintbrush. And so that was a fun thing for me to, I didn't stay here and watch her, but I would come periodically and see how she was doing. And she had a great time because she could look out the window, the door, and see all the fields in the way up near the sky. And so she had really something to look at. And she said that's what meant a lot to her, that she could see the outside and then see how that she was doing when she portrayed it on the wall. When we did when we designed the mural, we wanted, of course, our house and our business and our cottage, and then golf has always been a big part of our life. And Don was a golfer, and he introduced me to golf and wanted me to learn. And it was a while before I decided to do that because of the children. But we've had wonderful golfing vacations, not only together, but with the children. And now this year when we go to Hilton Head, Stephen has set up foursomes for everybody each different times, so that we got everybody, and we almost all of us play. Our children all play, but not all the spouses play, but some of the grandchildren play. So we'll have a wonderful time. So the golf has been part of our recreation, a big part of our recreation, and we have had some wonderful trips. And so we decided, and Lakeside Country Club has been part of our lives, and we've been very active in that in every way. So in fact, Don is still in charge of the trees up there, so he's been planting trees. And so we decided that we would have, the last part of our life would be the golf course. And so this is a fictitious golf course, but it shows the bunker and the green and the flag and the trees. And then once again, Linda has got all these little houses and barns and so forth up in the near the skyline there.
As long as we're walking around your home here, and you have so many lovely things, do you want to point out any things that are particularly meaningful to you?
Well, Don, as a hobby, worked with wood, and we started when we were first married. We made our tables, and so and then that sort of, I took a backseat in that, and then he went on with it. And he loves to work with his hands in a lot of ways. And this is one of the things he made as a cabinet. He also made this for one of our children. But within the cabinet, my grandmother was an artist, and she, in those days, I guess a lot of women did paint china. And so these are just two of the cups and saucers that she painted that were, that my mother had and that she left to me when she died. And then another thing in the dining room that Don made was the brandy stand. This is another one of his tables, and then he made the muffin stand there. So if you want to turn that off and then go in the other room.
Go.
This is a piece which was in the Beaumont family, and it is from the old Walker bin, then Walker built. And they made all kinds of furniture, and in later years they did school and library furniture. But when Mrs. Beaumont died, her daughter called and asked if I would come up and look at some of the furniture because she wanted it to stay in Penn Yan. So she had called an antique dealer, and they gave her a price. And she said, if you want it and meet the price, you can have it. So she said, I would like it to stay here. So Don and I bought it. And it was not in very good shape. It was all painted green inside, and it was just quite marked, and not, there were a lot of things wrong with it. And so at that time, Charlie Fox was still refinishing, and he was just a wonderful refinisher. And so he came and got it, and he said he was afraid that he couldn't get all the green paint out inside. So anyway, he worked and worked, and when he came back, he was very excited. He said, I got it all out, and he said it took only 3 applications before I did it. And he just did a magnificent job. It's furniture. It has, which is interesting, they have 2 little side drawers that come out besides the ones, and then the desk is here, of course, that pulls out, and then the 2 drawers come out here. But the scallop up here also fits down here. And we don't know whether this was made for a special purpose or if it was made as a show piece when he went around, but nobody seems to know. But it is a Penn Yan piece, and so it is very special to us. And then there's 2 other Penn Yan pieces in the room, and we didn't know about them. This one was from the Comstock family, but this one over there, you probably, there's certain type of legs which I want you to look at. And one of the antique dealers told us that they don't know what cabinet maker did these legs, but they're an unusual leg, and that it was a special person who worked in woodwork in Penn Yan, and nobody knows who it was, but he's the only one that made that kind of a leg. So we didn't know that when we bought it, of course, but then we found out later about that. And this is another table Don made. I don't know where you want me to go. These legs are like scalloped. And we have another table out in the other room that's the same thing. And Paul Kuhn is the one that told us that. And he looks out wherever he goes to try to find these Penn Yan pieces. And he always wants to sell to somebody in Penn Yan. So that, but we had bought that before, and he didn't know that they made those tables because he hadn't seen one of those. This corner cupboard we bought in Yorktown, Virginia, and that is 1734. But the inside, there's 2 special pieces. This one is a candy jar that was painted by my grandmother, And she has the year on the bottom, which was 1891. And then this is a picture that she painted, and that was 1893. So those are very special. The two paintings here I had restored, and they were in my mother's family, and my grandmother Mitchell had those in her drawing room, and my mother did. And so once again, Linda Lefko told me of a place in Skaneateles that you can have paintings restored and your gold frames. These were pretty well, pieces were out of them, and they just did a great job. And they also, these were always in our house, so it's nice to have them. And then the painting that is over on the other side was also needed restoring, and that's an original, but it had the gold frame that was just, my mother moved so much, a lot of her things were nicked, and so they did a good job there.
Block.
The grandmother's clock was another one of Don's projects, and he gave that to me for one of my birthdays. And also beside it is a vitrine, which he also gave to me. He wasn't very happy with that, but I like it very much, and it gives me a chance to show the little boxes. And then above, as long as we're here, I wanted to show you above the vitrine is a very special painting from Spain, where they took the leaf, and I can't remember the name of the plant, and they paint on the leaf of the plant, and that is the Madonna, and that is a very special painting that my mother had, that she always had up in her house.
So I'm good.
I don't know. So, I don't know how you want to do that.
Now, Corrie, you referred to this as a grandmother's clock. What makes it a grandmother's clock instead of a grandfather's clock?
Well, we were worried that the space was too small for a grandfather's clock because it's taller. And so he said, well, why don't I do a grandmother's clock? So this one is just like a grandfather's clock, except it's smaller. But as it turned out, he really could have done the grandfather's clock, but this is special.